Jai Om Sripad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki.
Jai.
Bandeyam Shri Guru Shri Yatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishikam Vitam Sya Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyanachana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Supurkam Garganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Abhidam Ujwalam Varatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noi Bija Pranam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelanchitam Sandrananda Puram Sadekavaranam Vairagya Vidyambunim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubhadam Marika Sharanam Nyashishwara Shridharam Vanshakopatarubyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahamaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Guratavishe Namah. So we want to welcome all our visitors who are listening. Not visitors, we want to welcome all the devotees who are listening to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita reading with translation. This is by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad. And today we're in Adi-lila chapter 2, entitled Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is text number 17. And here, continuing the discussion about those persons, different levels of realization, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. And this is about those persons who are able to enter into Brahman realization. So here in this verse it'll mention Brahmaloka. That Brahmaloka doesn't refer to the place where Lord Brahma is staying, which is sometimes called Brahmaloka, but this is Brahmaloka. This is the impersonal Brahman. Okay? Munaya vata vasana shramana urdva mantina brahmakyam damate yanti shanta sanyasino mala. Munaya vata vasana Shramana urdva mantina brahmakyam damateyanti shanta sanyasino mala. And it has the word sannyasi, sannyasina, those in the renounced order of life. So this is talking about the different, these are sannyasis, but of the impersonal variety, so we'll say. Naked saints and sannyasis who undergo severe physical penances, who can raise the semen to the brain, and who are completely equipoised in Brahman, can live in the realm known as Brahmaloka. In this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Vata Vasana refers to mendicants who do not care about anything material, including clothing, but who depend wholly on nature. Such sages do not cover their bodies even in severe winter or scorching sunshine. They take great pains not to avoid any kind of bodily suffering, and they live by begging from door to door. They never discharge their semen, either knowingly or unknowingly. By such celibacy, they are able to raise the semen to the brain. They thus become more intelligent and develop very sharp memories. Their minds are never disturbed or diverted from contemplation on the absolute truth, nor are they ever contaminated by desire for material enjoyment. By practicing austerities under strict discipline, such mendicants attain a neutral state transcendental to the modes of nature and merge into the impersonal Brahman. Atman tarjami jare yoga shastre koi seho govindera amsha vibhuti jehoi. He who is described in the Yoga Shastras as the indwelling Supersoul, Atma Antarjami, is also a plenary portion of Govinda's personal expansion. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is by nature joyful. His enjoyments or pastimes are completely transcendental. He is in the fourth dimension of existence, for although the material world is measured by the limitations of length, breadth, and height, the Supreme Lord is completely unlimited in his body, form, and existence. He is not personally attached to any of the affairs within the material cosmos. The material world is created by the expansion of his Purusha avatars, who direct the aggregate material energy and all the conditioned souls. By understanding the three expansions of the Purusha, a living entity can transcend the position of knowing only the 24 elements of the material world. One of the expansions of Mahavishnu is Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the super soul within every living entity. As the super soul of the total aggregate of living entities, or the second Purusha, he is known as Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. As the creator or original cause of innumerable universes, or the first Purusha, who is lying on the causal ocean, he is called Mahavishnu. The three Purushas direct the affairs of the material world. The authorized scriptures direct the individual souls to receive the authorized scriptures direct the individual souls to revive their relationship with the Supersoul. Indeed, the system of yoga is the process of transcending the influence of the material elements by establishing a connection with the Purusha known as Paramatma. One who has thoroughly studied the intricacies of creation can know very easily that this Paramatma is the primary portion of the Supreme Being, Sri Krishna. Ananta Svatike Jaiche Ek Surya Base Taichi Jibe Govindera Amsha Prakashe. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as a Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. As the one sun appears reflected in countless jewels, so Govinda manifests himself as a Paramatma in the hearts of all living beings. You can also understand this as if you had many different pots of water, you would see the sun reflected in every pot of water. But the sun is one, but the reflections are innumerable, or as many pots as there are. The sun is situated in a specific location, but is reflected in countless jewels and appears in innumerable localized aspects. Similarly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although eternally present in his transcendental abode, Goloka Vrindavan, is reflected in everyone's heart as a supersoul. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Jiva, living entity, and the Paramatma, supersoul, are like two birds sitting in the same tree. The supersoul engages the living being in executing fruitive work as a result of his deeds in the past. But the Paramatma has nothing to do with such engagements. As soon as the living being ceases to act in terms of fruitive work and takes to the service of the Lord, the Paramatma, coming to know, as soon as the living being ceases to act in terms of fruitive work and takes to the service of the Lord, the Paramatma, coming to know of his supremacy, he is immediately freed from all designations, and in that pure state he enters the kingdom of God known as Vaikuntha. The Paramatma or Supersoul, the guide of the individual living beings, does not take part in fulfilling the desires of the living beings, but he arranges for their fulfillment by material nature. As soon as an individual soul becomes conscious of his eternal relationship with his Supersoul and looks only toward him, he at once becomes free from the entanglements of material enjoyment. Christian philosophers who do not believe in the law of karma put forward the argument that it is absurd to say one must accept the results of past deeds of which he has no consciousness. A criminal is first reminded of his misdeeds by witnesses in a law court, and then he is punished. See? A criminal is first reminded of his misdeeds by witnesses in a law court, and then he is punished. If death is complete forgetfulness, why should a person be punished for his past misdeeds? The conception of the Paramatma is an invincible answer to these fallacious arguments. The Paramatma is the witness of the past activities of the individual living being. A man may not remember what he has done in his childhood, but his father, who has seen him grow through different stages of development, certainly remembers. Similarly, the living being undergoes many changes of body through many lives, but the Supersoul is always with him and remembers all his activities, despite his evolution through different bodies. Atava bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. The personality of God as Sri Krishna said, "What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion." Describing his own potencies to Arjuna, the personality of God as Sri Krishna spoke this verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Atad va bahunaitena kim gyatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam shena stito jagat. The personality of God as Sri Krishna said, "What more shall I say to you? I live throughout this cosmic manifestation merely by my single plenary portion." Tam imamaham ajam sharirabhajam hridi dishtitam atmakalpitanam pratidrisham iva naikadakam ekam pratidrisham iva naikadarkam ekam samadhigatosmi Viduta Beda Moha. Grandfather Bhishma said, "As the one son appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion." This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam was spoken by Bhishma Dev, the grandfather of the Kurus, when he was lying on a bed of arrows at the last stage of his life. Arjuna, Krishna, and numberless friends, admirers, relatives, and sages had gathered on the scene as Maharaj Yudhishthira took moral and religious instructions from the dying Bhishma. Just as the final moment arrived for him, Bhishma spoke the verse while looking at Lord Krishna. Just as the one sun is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna, who lives in the heart of every living entity as the Paramatma, is a variously perceived object. Just as the one sun, who is the object of vision of many different persons, so the one partial representation of Lord Krishna, Paramatma, who lives in the heart of every living entity, is a variously perceived object. One who comes intimately in touch with Lord Krishna by engaging in his eternal service sees the Paramatma as the localized partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhishma knew the Supersoul to be a partial expansion of Lord Krishna, whom he understood to be the Supreme Unborn Transcendental Form. So Bhishma, his whole body was pierced by arrows, and he was lying on a bed of arrows. I mean, the arrows had went through his whole body, all over his body, and he was just lying on a bed of arrows. So then he asked for some place to rest his head, and someone brought him a pillow, and he said, "No, this is not fit for a warrior." So then I believe it was Arjuna shot 2 arrows, like crossing like this, so he could rest his head. But he didn't die immediately. He maintained himself in his body for some time until the sun changed courses and went into the north. I believe that's after the winter solstice, I believe it is. And he waited till that time, that's when yogis successfully leave during the daytime, when the sun is traveling to the north. It's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. He waited for that time. For some time he waited. He was lying on a bed of arrows. And then when the sun went on the northern course, then he left his body. It's called Bhishma Panchaga, I guess it is, like that time. Saita Govinda Saksha Chaitanya Gosai Jive Nishtarite Aiche Doyalu Aranai. So grandfather Bhishma, he said Tam Imam Ahamajam Sharir Abhajam Ridi Dishtitam Atmakopitanam Pratidrisham Eva Naikadarkam Ekam Samadhigatosmi Viduta Beda Mohaha. Grandfather Bhishma said, as the one sun appears differently situated to different seers, so also do you, the unborn, appear differently represented as the Paramatma in every living being. But when a seer knows himself to be one of your own servitors, no longer does he maintain such duality. Thus I am now able to comprehend your eternal forms, knowing well the Paramatma to be only your plenary portion of Krishna. He's looking at Krishna and he's saying this. Saita Govinda Sakshat Chaitanya Gosai Jive Nishtarite Aiche Doyalu Aranai. There's Ishan. That Govinda personally appears as Chaitanya Gosai. No other Lord is as merciful in delivering the fallen souls. Herein, having described Govinda in terms of his Brahman and Paramatma features, now the author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita advances his argument to prove that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the identical personality. that Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna. The same Lord Sri Krishna, in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen souls, the fallen human beings who descended to this mortal world to, the same Lord Krishna, in the garb of a devotee of Sri Krishna, descended to this mortal world to reclaim the fallen human beings who had misunderstood the personality of Godhead even after the explanation of the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, directly instructed that the Supreme is a person, that the impersonal Brahman is his glowing effulgence, and that the Paramatma is his partial representation. All men were therefore advised to follow the path of Sri Krishna, leaving aside all mundane isms. Offenders misunderstood this instruction, however, because of their poor fund of knowledge. Thus, by his causeless, unlimited mercy, Sri Krishna came again as Sri Chaitanya Goswami. Advaita Acharya called for Mahaprabhu to descend to deliver the fallen souls. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita most emphatically stresses that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Sri Krishna himself. He is not an expansion of the Prakash or Vilas forms of Sri Krishna. He is the Svayam Rupa Govinda. Apart from the relevant scriptural evidence forwarded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, there are innumerable other scriptural statements regarding Lord Chaitanya's being the Supreme Lord himself. The following examples may be cited. 1. From the Chaitanya Upanishad. Gora Sarvatma Mahapurusho Mahatma Mahayogi Tri Gunatita Sattvarupam Bhaktim Loke Kashyati. Lord Gora, who is the all-pervading Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears as a great saint and powerful mystic, who is above the three modes of nature and is the emblem of transcendental activity. He disseminates the cult of devotion throughout the world. 2. From the Svetasvatara Upanishad. Tam Ishvaranam Paramam Maheshwaram Tam Devatan Samdevatanam Paramam Shadaivatam Patim Patinam Paramam Parastad Vidama Devam Bhuvanesham Idyam. O Supreme Lord, you are the Supreme Maheshwara, the worshipable deity of all the demigods, and the Supreme Lord of all lords. You are the controller of all controllers, the personality of God, the Lord of everything worshipable. Mahan Prabhur Vai Purusha Sarvasyaisha Pravartaka Su Nirmalam Imam Praptam Ishano Jyotir Avyaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahaprabhu, who disseminates transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Brahma Jyoti. See? There's the name Ishan in this verse. It says, Mahan Prabhu Vai Purusha Sattva Shaisha Pravartaka Sunirmalam Imam Praptam Ishano Jyotir Avyaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Mahaprabhu, who disseminates transcendental enlightenment. Just to be in touch with him is to be in contact with the indestructible Brahma Jyoti. So that means that your name, Ishan, refers to both, you could say it's a name of it's a name of Lord Shiva, but it's also a name. It's also a name of Krishna and also a name of Mahaprabhu, Ishan, like that. Because it comes from Isha, or the Lord. Mundaka Upanishad. Yada pasya pasyate rukmavarnam kartaram isham purusham brahmayonim. One who sees that golden-colored personality of God, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Actor, who is the source of the Supreme Brahman, is liberated. That's golden-colored personality of God. That's Mahaprabhu. From Srimad Bhagavatam, Jayam sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham tirtasparam shiva varinchinutam sharanyam brityartiham pranata pala bhavabdipotam bande mahapurusha te charanarabindam. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Him, the Lord upon whom one should always meditate. He destroys insults to His devotees. He removes the distresses of His devotees and satisfies their desires. He is the abode of all holy places and the shelter of all sages, is worshipable by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. He is the boat of the demigods for crossing the ocean of birth and death. So that's Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva worships Krishna. Chapva sadustya surepsita raja lakshmim dharmishta arya vajasa yad agadarnyam mayamrigam Dayita yepshitam anvadavad bande mahapurusha te charanarabindam. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls, who were put into illusion by material energy. So this verse, normally it refers to Lord Ramachandra, because it, Mayam Rigyam, refers to him running after the golden deer created by the brother of Ravana. Was it? I forget. I know his name, but I'm forgetting it. And,
Brother of Ram?
Yeah, no, brother of Ravana.
Oh, right.
Mayamrigyam, who created an illusion of a golden deer.
Oh, right. I thought it was a rishi.
Yeah, but I think he's a rishi, but I think he's a brother of Ravana. He has that mystic power. But this verse also can be explained as referring to Mahaprabhu, who left the company of a Vishnu Priya, so desirable, is such desirable company of his eternal consort, and ran after the conditioned souls to save them. So verse also refers to what is his name? Marichi Rishi. That's his name. Marichi. He normally refers to Ramachandra running after the golden deer, that Mayamrigam, created by Marichi, who had mystic power. But this verse actually also refers to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who left the association of Vishnu Priya to run after the conditioned souls to save them. We offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of the Lord, upon whom one should always meditate. He left his householder life, leaving aside his eternal consort, whom even the denizens of heaven adore. He went into the forest to deliver the fallen souls who are put into illusion by material energy. Prahlad said, Itamri tiryag rishi deva gyasavatarar lokan vibhavayasi hamsi jagat pratipan dharmam mahapurusha pashi yuganuvrittam chanakalo yad abhavastri yugotasatvam. My Lord, you kill all the enemies in the world in your multifarious incarnations, in the families of men, animals, demigods, rishis, aquatics, and so on. Thus you illuminate the worlds with transcendental knowledge. In the age of Kali, O Mahapurusha, you sometimes appear in a covered incarnation. Therefore you are known as Tri-yuga, one who appears in only 3 yugas. Because in the Kali Yuga, the Lord appears as a Chana avatar, as a hidden incarnation. He appears as a devotee, his own devotee, as Mahaprabhu. So sometimes he's called Tri-yuga, who only directly appears in 3 yugas, but in Kali Yuga, he doesn't directly, he comes as a Chana avatar, as you could say, a hidden incarnation. From the Krishna Yamala Tantra Punya Kshetre Navadvipe, from the Krishna Yamala Tantra Punya Kshetre Navadvipe Bhavishyami Sachisuta, I shall appear in the holy land of Navadip as the son of Sachi Devi. From the Vayu Purana, Kalo Sankirtana Rambe Bhavishyami Sachi Sutta, in the age of Kali, when the Sankirtan movement is inaugurated, I shall descend as the son of Sachi Devi. From the Brahma Yamala Tantra, Ata Vaham Dharadame Bhutvamad Bhakta Rupadrik Mayayam cha bhavishyami kalo sankirtanagame. Sometimes I personally appear on the surface of the world in the garb of a devotee. Specifically, I appear as the son of Sachi in Kali Yuga to start the Sankirtan movement. From the Ananta Samhita, Ya eva Bhagavan Krishna Radhika Pranavalabha Shristiyado Sa Jagannatho Gora Asin Maheshwari. The Supreme Person, Sri Krishna Himself, who is the life of Sri Radharani and is the Lord of the universe in creation, maintenance, and annihilation, appears as Gora, O Maheshwari. Param Vyomate Vaishe Narayana Nama Shad Aishwarya Purna Lakmi Kanta Bhagavan. Lord Narayan, who dominates the transcendental world, is full in 6 opulences. He is the personality of Godhead, the Lord of the goddess of fortune. Veda Bhagavata Upanishad Agama Purna Tattvai Jare Kohe Nahi Jarasama. The personality of Godhead is He who is described as the absolute whole in the Vedas, Bhagavatam, Upanishads, and other transcendental literatures. No one is equal to Him. There are innumerable authoritative statements in the Vedas regarding the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Some of them are as follows. From the Rik Samhita, Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pashyanti Suraya Diviva Chakshur Atatam. The personality of God of Vishnu is the Absolute Truth, whose lotus feet all the demigods are always eager to see. Like the sun god, he pervades everything by the rays of his energy. He appears impersonal to imperfect eyes. So the lotus feet of the Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pashanti Suraya Diviva Chakshuratatam. The lotus feet of Vishnu are above our head, like the sun. The lotus feet of Vishnu are like the sun above our head, and the rays from that sun of the lotus feet of Vishnu are illuminating our lives. Tad Vishnu Paramam Param Sada Pashanti Suraya Diviva Chakshuratatam. From the Narayana Tarva Shira Upanishad, Narayana Eva Samutpadyante Narayanat Pravartante Narayane Praliyante Atanityo Narayana Narayana Evedam Sarvam Yad Bhutam Yatchat Bhavam Shudodeva Ego Narayano Na Dvitiyosti Kaschit. It is from Narayana only that everything is generated, by him only that everything is maintained, and in him only that everything is annihilated. Therefore, Narayana is eternally existent. Everything that exists now or will be created in the future is nothing but Narayan, who is the unadulterated deity. There is only Narayan and nothing else. From the Narayana Upanishad, Yata Prasuta Jagata Prasuti Jata Prasuta Jagata Prasuti. Narayana is the source from whom all the universes emanate. From the highest Shirsha Pancharatra, Paramatma Harir Deva, Hari is the Supreme Lord. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana Bidanya Narayana Bidanasya Brahmana Paramatmana Nishtam Arhata No Vaktum Yuyam E Brahmavitama. Or I can say it. Narayana Bidhanasya Brahmana Paramatmanaha Nishtam Arhata No Vaktum Yuyam E Brahmavitamaha. O best of the Brahmins, please tell us of the position of Narayan, who is also known as Brahman and Paramatma. Stiti Udbhava Pralaya Hetur Ahetur Asya Yad Swapna Jagara Shushupti Shu Sadbahischa Dehendriyasu Hridayani Charantiyena Sanjivitani Tad Avehi Param Narendra. O King, know him who is causeless and yet is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, who exists in the three states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. Okay, O King, know him who is causeless and yet is the cause of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. He exists in the three states of consciousness, namely waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, as well as beyond them. He enlivens the body, the senses, the breath of life, and the heart, and thus they move. Know him to be supreme. Bhakti Yoge Bhakta Paya Jahara Darshana Surya Yena Savigraha Deke Devagana. Through their service, devotees see that personality of Godhead, just as the denizens of heaven see the personality of the sun. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has his eternal form, which cannot be seen by material eyes or mental speculation. Only by transcendental devotional service can one understand the transcendental form of the Lord. The comparison is made here to the qualifications for viewing the personal features of the sun god. The sun god is a person who, although not visible to our eyes, is seen from the higher planets by the demigods, whose eyes are suitable for seeing through the glaring sunshine that surrounds him. Every planet has its own atmosphere according to the influence of the arrangement of material nature. It is therefore necessary to have a particular type of bodily construction to reach a particular planet. The inhabitants of earth may be able to reach the moon, but the inhabitants of heaven can reach even the fiery sphere called the sun. What is impossible for man on earth is easy for the demigods in heaven because of their different bodies. Similarly, to see the Supreme Lord, one must have the spiritual eyes of devotional service. The personality of Godhead is unapproachable by those who are habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought, without reference to the transcendental vibration. What is the transcendental vibration? Transcendental vibration could be said, Om. That's transcendental vibration, Om. And now people are saying that because they have this form of, what is that? They have that virus. The virus, what? What is the virus? It's Omkara. Omkara. What is that? That's, what is the virus called?
Oh, the latest one?
No, but in general, what is it called? You get shots against it. What is it called?
Vaccine.
Huh?
I'm not
Co-
sure.
What?
Inoculated?
Against what? Against COVID, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's COVID. And the latest form of COVID is called Omkara. Omkara. So that's the vibration of Om. It says here, when you say Omkara, you're saying Om, right? And Omkara, impersonal way of chanting Hare Krishna, Om. The personality of God is unapproachable by those who are habituated to speculation about the absolute truth in terms of experimental scientific thought, without reference to the transcendental vibration, Om or Hare Krishna. The ascending approach to the absolute truth ends in the realization of impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, but not the supreme transcendental personality. So here it talks about going to they may go to the moon, people may go to the moon, but how will they go to the sun? But Prabhupada had a book called Easy Journey to Other Planets, where he talked about those things. Jnana Yoga Marge Tare Bhaje Je Sabha Brahma Atma Rupe Tare Kori Anubhava. Those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship, those who walk the paths of knowledge and yoga worship only Him, for it is Him they perceive as the impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Those who are fond of mental speculation, Jnana Marg, or want to meditate in mystic yoga to find the absolute truth, must approach the impersonal effulgence of the Lord and His partial representation, respectively. Such persons cannot realize the eternal form of the Lord. Okay. Upasana Bede Jani Ishvara Mahima Atava Suryatara Dieta Upama. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the analogy of the sun illustrates. The analogy of the sun is seen as when you're lying on the beach, you can feel the rays of the sun on you. So there's the sun rays. And then there is the sun planet. right? The sun planet. The rays emanate from the sun. And just like we can say, the living entity is living in this world, but the living entity is not from this world. Just like the rays of the sun are here, but the rays of the sun are not from this earth. The rays of the sun are here, but they're not from the earth. The living entities are here, but they're not from this earth. So you can see the sun rays, then you can see the sun. Maybe you have to have some dark sunglasses, but you can see the sun. And then those who are advanced, the sun rays, the sun planet, and the sun god. Surya can see the sun god. Upasana Bede Jani Ishvara Mahima Ateva Suryatara Dieta Upama. Thus one may understand the glories of the Lord through different modes of worship, as the analogy of the sun illustrates. And Surya, the sun. But Surya also refers to the sun god. Se Narayana Krishnera Swarupa Beda Ekayi Vigraha Kintu Akara Bibeda. Narayan and Sri Krishna are the same personality of Godhead, but although they are identical, their bodily features are different. Iho to dvibuja tiho daricharihata iho menu dare tin tiho chad chakradikasata. The personality of God is Sri Krishna has 2 hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayana, has 4 hands with conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. Conch, the conch shell for blowing, conch shell. Wheel means chakra. You can throw that chakra. Spinning wheel. Like the, what do they call those people who can throw chakras? They call them ninjas, okay. But their chakras are not like, the Lord's chakras way more powerful than the ninja chakras. Personality of God is Sri Krishna has 2 hands and holds a flute, whereas the other, Narayana, has 4 hands with conch shell, mace, and lotus. With conch, wheel, mace, and lotus. So conch shell, chakra, the mace or club, and lotus. Narayana is identical to Sri Krishna. They are in fact the same person, manifested differently, like a high court judge who is differently situated in his office and at home. As Narayan, the Lord is manifested with 4 hands, but as Krishna, he is manifested with 2 hands. So that example of the high court judge is nice, because the high court judge, when he's in court, he's known as Your Honor. And he has his, he's the judge. He has his name. He's respected. But when he goes home, he takes off his robe and wig. In the case of England, they wear wigs. And then he goes home, and to his children, he's daddy. He's called daddy, although in the court, he's called Your Honor. Narayanas tvam na isarvadehinam Atmasi adishakila lokasakshi Narayanongam narabhujalayanat tachapi satyam na taivaivamaya. O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest friend. Are you not, therefore, my father, Narayan? Narayana refers to one whose abode is in the water born from Nara, Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So this verse is very interesting, because this verse is spoken by Brahma. And Brahma knows Narayan because he's born from the lotus that grows out of Narayana's belly. Narayana's, navel. From his navel grows a lotus flower, and Lord Brahma is born on that lotus. So Brahma can call Lord Narayan. He can call him father because he's born from, the lotus that grows from Lord Narayana's navel. But that same Brahma who tried to play a trick on Krishna, he tried to hide all the cowherd boys and put them in a cave and put the lid on there, and then he went back to see how he had put all the children playing with Krishna. He put them in a state of yoga nidra and trance and put them in a cave. So he went back to see how his trick had caused trouble for Krishna. But when he came back, he saw all those children were still there. And he thought, what? I stole all those children and hid them in the cave and put them in yoga nidra. So how are these children here? And then he went back to the cave and opened the door, and then he put some stone over the cave. Then he saw they're all asleep there. And then he went back to see Krishna, and Krishna's still playing with the same children. So Brahma tried to play a trick on Krishna, but he was totally illusion. Wait, they're in the cave, but here they are, all playing with Krishna. Then from those children came a four-hand form of Vishnu, and Lord Balaram hadn't seen all that originally because Balaram was at home because it was his birthday, and then Lord Balaram came there, and then he sees this. He sees all these cowherd boys, and with the form of Vishnu come, and then he says, "Is this the Maya or the illusion caused by some demon? No, it is. This is my brother Krishna. This is Krishna who's doing all this." And Lord Brahma understood that Krishna is the Lord, and he says, "O Lord of Lords, you are the seer of all creation. You are indeed everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayan?" Because Narayan is father. He says, You are everyone's dearest life. Are you not therefore my father, Narayan? Narayan refers to one whose abode is in the water, born from Nara, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And that Narayan is your plenary portion. All your plenary portions are transcendental. They are absolute and are not creations of Maya. So he said that to Krishna. Krishna said, "What are you talking about, Brahma? I'm just a cowherd boy. I'm a cowherd boy. I'm a young boy. How can I be your father?" He says, "No, you are that same Narayan." This statement, which is from Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken by Lord Brahma in his prayers to Lord Krishna after the Lord had defeated him by displaying his mystic powers. Brahma tried to test Lord Krishna to see if he were really the Supreme Personality of Godhead, playing as a cowherd boy. Brahma stole all the other boys and their calves from the pasturing grounds, but when he returned to the pastures, he saw that all the boys and calves were still there, for Lord Krishna had created them all again. When Brahma saw this mystic power of Lord Krishna, he admitted defeat and offered prayers to the Lord, addressing him as the proprietor and seer of everything in the creation, and as the supersoul who is within each and every living entity and is dear to all. That Lord Krishna is Narayan, the father of Brahma, because Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, after placing himself on the Garbha ocean, created Brahma from his own body. That Lord Krishna is Narayan, the father of Brahma, because Lord Krishna's plenary expansion, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, after placing himself on the Garbha ocean, created Brahma from his own body. Mahavishnu in the causal ocean and Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, the supersoul in everyone's heart, are also transcendental expansions of the Supreme Lord. Shishuvatsa Hari Brahma Kori Aparada Shamaite Magena Prasad. After Brahma had offended Krishna by stealing his playmates and calves, he begged the Lord's pardon for his offensive act and prayed for the Lord's mercy. Tumaranabi Padma Hoite Amara Janmodoi Tumi Pita Mata Ami Tomara Tanoi. I took birth from the lotus that grew from your navel. Thus you are both my father and my mother, and I am your son. Pita Mata Balakera Na Loy Aparada Kama More Koraha Prasad. Parents never take seriously the offenses of their children. I therefore beg your pardon and ask for your benediction. Krishna Kohen Brahma Tomara Pita Narayana Ami Gopa Tumi Kaiche Amaranandana. Sri Krishna said, O Brahma, your father is Narayan, and I am but a cowherd boy. How can you be my son? What are you talking about, Brahma? Your father is Narayan. I'm just a cowherd boy. I'm small. How can you be my son? That's what Krishna says. I'm a cowherd boy. I'm a boy. How can I be your father? Brahma bolen tumi ki na how Narayana, tumi Narayana shuna tahara karana. Brahma replied, are you not Narayan? You are certainly Narayan. Please listen as I state the proofs. So tomorrow we'll read how Brahma is proving that Krishna is non-different from Narayan. So I'll keep all this together for tomorrow. I like this. It's very, very nice. This Chaitanya Charitamrita.
I made it through without falling out of the chair.
Huh? Well, we can give it back to you. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama. Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan. Jaite Vignana Shabishta Puran. Jaite Vignana Shabishta Puran. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. H.I. Gosai Jarmui Taradas. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tasabar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Sadhar Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanimas. Sadhar Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanimas. Janame More Abhilash. Janame More Abhilash. H.I. Gosai Jabe Bhaje Koilabas. H.I. Gosai Jabe Bhaje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Anande Bolo Hari Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padema Jai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padema Jai Aman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyas. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriyas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narata Modas. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Narata Modas. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitya Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. Nitya Gora Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo. So before we say our final prayers, we'll say, wish everybody all good fortune and blessings from Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, from Mahaprabhu, from Guru, from Mahaprabhu, and from Shishi Radha Krishna. Okay. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmawacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Sigo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasni, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupad ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad, Srila Bhakti Kushama Ashram Maharaj ki jai, Ananda Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Navadip Dham ki jai, Shri Ram Mayapur ki jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Saparshada Shri Man Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Kuladvip ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Soquel Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Seva Ashram ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Vrindavanam ki jai, Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan, Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo ki jai, Shri Purushottam Madam ki jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Jo ki jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev ki jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, Shri Hariballabha Prabhu ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jai Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.